Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of 10 for the Chairman. For those of you who haven't watched this before, this is where I take 10 questions from subscribers and answer them, 10 questions about Star Citizen and Squadron 42, answer them to the best of my ability. For those of you who don't know, subscribers are the subset of our community that kick in extra money every month to allow us to do enhanced community content. So this show around the verse, Jump Point, which is this sort of big in-depth magazine we do that's normally somewhere between 50 and 80 pages long, full of sort of behind-the-scenes articles showing how we built ships or designing a system or talking about locations inside the persistent universe, and also we have some fiction that's set inside the persistent universe. Subscriber money allows us to sort of do this greater community content, and that content actually filters down to the backers in general. So thank you very much to subscribers for doing that, and as part of that, they get to ask some questions. Let's get to the questions. So the first one comes from ADT Grumpf, who asks, in the recent FPS updates, we've been told that the team elimination game type has been replaced with something akin to COD's domination. With FPS combat and Star Citizen being described as tactical, I'm wondering what motivated the removal and replacement of this game type over simply adding a second one. Because it's tactical. I think the best way to give an answer for this is that, in the sort of early stages of testing, the map that we had, there wasn't particularly a reason to gravitate you to any area. And so if you have a team elimination game and you don't have that many people, at the end it's sort of, and we also don't have like respawns all the time, the same way that you maybe would have respawns of Call of Duty or another sort of fast-paced FPS game, then you could have the end of the match be quite boring for everyone else, where it revolves around cat and mouse, the last two people surviving on each one of the teams, and no one wants to make the move because they don't want to lose the game. And so we sort of felt like probably for the first game mode, we wanted to have something that was more objective based, that would give players a reason to fight over a location or go for a certain location. And it certainly will fit much better with what will happen in Star Citizen in general, because a lot of times you'll be boarding a ship, and so the whole point of that will be to take it over. So go to fight your way to the bridge to take command, or disable the engine and go down to the engine room. So we wanted to make the first game mode be more objective based, because we think it would sort of be a better practice mode for what we think will happen in the game itself, and be a bit more fun. Although we will add more game modes as we go along. We're going to have Saturn Ball that will come online later on, which is sort of more a sports version, kind of futuristic version of combine basketball with American football with like football / soccer. For me, football. For the Americans and Canadians of you out there, it would be soccer. So we'll have more than one game mode, but we sort of felt like the best one would have been our sort of headquarters mode that gives people a goal to go for, and so we think that's a better representative of what the FPS combat experience will be in Star Citizen. So that's why we did it. Okay, next question comes from Angelus Nex, or Angelus Nex, maybe, who asks, with the plan for Arena Commander 2.0 to be the baby PU, yes, what we're basically calling Multicrew, or what we've decided, we made the switch to SC Alpha 1.0 a little while ago, but really with Multicrew, that's pretty much you're going to be getting what we would consider sort of SC Alpha, because you're going to have the full sort of space of experience on a huge, massively scaled map. You're going to have all the sort of combat FPS elements there. You're going to have social elements. So all the things that you've seen up until then will all be there in one package. And so, then you could probably look at it and say, you could call this an early Star Citizen Alpha. I mean, it still won't have the landing on planets and taking off on planets and going to different star systems, but a lot of the base mechanics will be there, and it'll be the test bed that we'll sort of be adding into. Now, the question is, would we be able to bring larger multi-crew ships into the Arena Commander, which is sort of the game within the game. Arena Commander's the sort of practice mode for you to play to make sure that you have a chance to get good at combat before you actually put things on the line with your real ship out there in space. And I would say that that is the long-term plan. In the short term, the very first release of sort of SC Alpha, what we're calling 1.3, which is going to be sort of the multi-crew release, so we'll have FPS and social and all those things in it. We won't have the ability to bring your multi-crew ships into Arena Commander as it stands. So you can still do Arena Commander, still be ranked, still have the matches, but it will be the set of ships that you have right now. and then in a subsequent release, the next one or the one after, we will, because mainly the big issue is there's a whole new sort of lobby UI that you need for multi-crew ships in an arena commander sort of arena battle mode, where here's my constellation, and here's who's going to be in my upper turret, here's going to be my lower turret, here's my co-pilot seat, which we don't have that lobby UI, and we sort of decided, because we're building the multi-crew release to be sort of this, what we call the baby PU, or SC Alpha. You will spawn on a space station, and you and a bunch of other people spawn on a space station, just like you spawn on ArcCorp right now in the social module, and you can call up which ship you want on a landing pad that you have from, obviously, that you have in your account, and you can go to it, and your friends can join you in that ship, and then you can take off and explore around and fight other AI that are out on this large map, or come across other players, or kind of do what you want in a sort of free-form fashion. So that's sort of the initial way you're using your multi-crew ships. There's a lot more territory to explore, different locations to find and explore. So I think people are going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to be sort of building out and fleshing out gameplay and functionality and features in this sort of map, which I think I've referred to in the past to be sort of a test kitchen of all the sort of like in-depth gameplay. And I think when people get SC Alpha 1.3 / multi-crew and play it, that will be the experience to go, okay, I see how all this stuff fits together in Star Citizen, and I am psyched, because I'm pretty psyched. That's sort of the goal, and then later on, like I said, we will make Arena Commander also work with multi-crew ships, and maybe there's classification for the best constellation pilot or the best constellation combat person, and because we still have plans for Arena Commander and also for Star Marine to have more in-depth matchmaking, sort of ranking systems, so that would be much more akin to what you would see on, I don't know, like Blizzard do very well with their Battle.net stuff. So we'll definitely have that, but we felt the first thing we want to do is get you into this big large world map with your friends and adventure around. So we won't be able to really do Arena Commander as in the sort of game within a game in a constellation, the very first release of Multicrew, but it will be in a subsequent release, the one afterwards or the one after that. It sort of depends when we can fit the time for the UI for it in, because everyone's pretty much tasked fully on everything they're doing right now, working hard to get you something very cool. Okay, next question comes from Positronic Reflex, who asks, will players be able to drop weapons / gadgets in FPS? For example, trading weapons with your teammates, or an enemy taking your gear when you're down. So yes, that is 100% the plan that we will have in SC Alpha 1.3 and Multicrew, and may or may not make the first release of FPS, depending, because that's one of the features we're working on right now. But the first release of FPS and Multicrew are like basically almost on top of each other, so it sort of depends on timing. They may become the same, or they may not be, sort of depending on the time of those two. But if you don't have it in the very first version, you'll have it in the second version, because that 100% is the plan. We're planning in Multicrew to be able to fly out, and even if you don't have these FPS weapons, you'll fly to a location, maybe you'll scavenge some, and then all of a sudden you'll have some weapons, and you can go off there and terrorize some other players, or fight some AI, or do whatever you want. So that's part of our plan, and I think it will be kind of like a fun little sandbox for people to play around with, and we're aiming to continue to add the functionality and the content to it, and I think hopefully people will have fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing some cool live streaming of videos of people doing wacky shit that I never guessed. All right, next question comes from Arius Gatherford, who asks, since all is coming together now and game mechanics are getting more and more complex, how do you plan to introduce the specific parts like electronic warfare, mining, etc. to players? Well, good job you asked, because that's what I've been talking about. So the whole idea is sort of SC Alpha 1.3, Baby PU, whatever you want to call it. That is where we're bringing in all the new game mechanics. So for instance, when we have the voxel asteroids up and running and we can mine them, we would start spawning asteroid fields built from voxels out somewhere in the large world map, and you could fly out to it in your mining ship, and you'll be able to mine and then bring minerals back and sell them for some money at a local space station. Or if by that time we actually have the planetary landings in, land down on planetary landing and sell them down on the ground. So the idea is that the mechanics, sort of things like mining, electronic warfare, all those sort of things are going to be tested, evolved, polished in this large world map that we have in SE Alpha 1.3 and onwards, and that's how we're getting a lot of the functionality out there in the wild and getting feedback on it, and that will form the basis of Star Citizen. So I think once that comes out, it's going to be pretty cool, because you'll start to see a lot of possibility in gameplay that you don't see right now. Because right now, if you're flying in space, it's pretty much Arena Commander, and it's like close quarter dogfighting, and that's it. And so everyone very much focuses on balance for close quarter dogfighting, controls for close quarter dogfighting, but the ultimate Star Citizen game is going to have so much more than that. It's only one small component of the gameplay. There'll be a lot of sort of adventure components or exploration components or trading components, and all these things that I think are going to make the Star Citizen universe incredibly rich, and at the fidelity we're doing it, which you haven't really seen before, and that's all going to roll out in the large world setting that we're doing for the Multicrew. And so there you go. So that's where we're going to test it, and we'll be looking forward to your feedback. So it's going to be pretty cool. Next question comes from Storm Raven, who asks, death mechanic means that our characters will constantly be changing names when their heir takes over the account. How will we be able to track a player for bounty hunting if their name is constantly changing? Well, I think once they're dead, their bounty isn't relevant anymore. So the other thing is, if you go back and look at the Death of a Spaceman post, which is one of the early ones, the idea is you don't die right away. So it's not like one death and you suddenly have to pass on to your next heir. And we're kind of going with the idea that it's the future, so they can probably bring you back and to life from situations that in today's world you'd be definitely dead, but you can only do it so many times. So after a certain point, your body's just going to give out. So you could almost think of it as old school sort of game lives or something. And then after, whatever it will be, 3 of them, 4 of them, 8 of them, or whatever, there's only so many bionic arm replacements, or so many times they can sort of heal you up. Luke Skywalker in Empire Strikes Back style. And in that particular case, then yes, you'll go on to pass it on to your heir, but that won't necessarily be happening all the time. And second of all, a bounty will probably die with the person that dies. So whoever killed that person and they had a bounty on their head, you'll have collected the bounty. So it's not going to pass to heirs. It basically, if I've got a bounty on a character, it's for that character. And so if you capture them or kill them, then you would get the bounty. Then in some ways you start fresh with as an heir. Maybe there's some small amount of reputation that carries over. So you're the son of a notorious crime boss or something. Then perhaps people look on you as slightly different than if you weren't. But mostly the sins of the parents stay with the parents. For those of you that are worried about whether someone will just sort of kill themselves to avoid the bounty being claimed on them, I will say that since we only have a limited amount of lives, and dying is kind of a pain, it would be a pretty extraordinary step to basically kill yourself rather than have a bounty claimed on you, mainly because, like I said, you only have a few number of lives, and you'll die, you'll pass on, you'll lose like whatever ship you were in at the point with the equipment on it. Maybe you won't lose the base hull. That'll maybe pass on to your inheritance, and you never know if there's death taxes in certain areas of the universe and all those kind of things. So we'll definitely make it in a way that people can't game the system. Like, oh well, I've got a bounty and everyone's after me, so I'll just kill myself, and then my next of kin will take over. So you will be incentivized to try and keep your character living as long as possible in the world, and that's kind of one of the challenges we'll have on the game design side there. But we're trying to make it like real life. Okay, next question comes from Shrike, who asks, when we reach a point where the ability to shop at ArcCorp is enabled, will the Voyager Direct store be closing down? So as far as the Voyager Direct store, we'll definitely transfer across the buying and selling of sort of in-game stuff that you would normally buy off UEC into the game as much as possible. There may be some level of stuff that for a short period of time we keep on Voyager Direct. It sort of depends on which shops come in line sooner or later, but as soon as we have proper shops in the sort of SC Alpha that are connected to the persistent database and the transactions are safe and whatnot, and we don't have any worries about them being sort of breached or abused, then yes, we would get rid of the online Voyager Direct the UEC store, because the UEC should really be currency used in the game, and then you would use real cash currency on the normal sort of pledge store on the site, where you would sort of first buy your package to come and enter the game, or where you would sort of buy some additional UEC, if you didn't want to be earning it inside the game. And we have one aspect of we still haven't 100% decided, but in the case of the SC Alpha, you're running around and we're still testing stuff out. We've been toying with at some point letting you actually earn money during that time, in-game money, so you can buy things in the game shop. So that will definitely be one thing that we'll do. Maybe not right at the beginning, but we'll bring that in. But we'll probably make all that stuff that you do during that sort of alpha phase be money that once we go, okay, it's commercial, that will go away. Obviously, the money that you've earned with your package, or any money you actually bought with real dollars, would always be permanent for you. But any money that you would earn during the alpha stage would only be around for as long as the alpha stage is around, or when we wipe it. And there may even be a couple of times where we wipe it, where we have our large world test map, SC Alpha 1.3 that we have right now, that goes on for a while, and then at some point we're going to shift to the proper system inside the Star Citizen universe, and start with one system and then open up to another system and so on. At that point, we may even do a wipe from the temporary stuff you've earned to new temporary UEC until the final. We say, okay, this is Star Citizen for everybody, and then it's there you start. So that's kind of how we're thinking about Voyager Direct Star and all the rest of stuff. Okay, next question comes from Priscilla, who asks, what is the scope for offline play outside of Squadron 42? Will I be able to visit planetside areas such as ArcCorp, where I'm the only one not an NPC, or go into the larger universe offline, where it's just me and an NPC world? So currently we don't have any plans for a offline version of Star Citizen, mainly because we've got so many parts of it that revolve around a huge simulated universe. So like the only way we make this universe feel alive is because we have a very detailed universe simulation running 20 million AI on a server that sort of communicates with our game servers and our solar system servers, and that's not particularly practical in sort of a single player mode. So essentially Squadron 42 is your single player game, and then Star Citizen is multiplayer. Either it's sort of massively multiplayer online using our whole infrastructure, which scales and can handle lots of players, millions of players, or there is the private server option that we are going to do, which will be after obviously the Squadron 42 and the massively online stuff is all up and running. But the private one will be more akin to the way Freelancer works, where you could run your own server. You definitely wouldn't be able to have millions of people on it. Probably wouldn't even be able to have thousands, but it would be more sort of like Freelancer, where there'd be 100 or so. It would be sort of a server stood up that you and your friends or whatever could match into and go around, and the universe would be more static than it would be in the sort of massively multiplayer online simulated one, just because we just got a lot more sort of servers and computing power in the cloud. I mean, we're sort of doing things there that are kind of similar to what people have been talking about, what the cloud can do for you, where you can put a lot more of the simulation up in the cloud and make a world richer. So that unfortunately makes the actual single player game in a sort of more freelancer style or a privateer style much harder to achieve. I mean, we probably could do a sort of dumbed down, more simpler version of the universe. I mean, it'd look great and still have lots of cool stuff. It just wouldn't be quite as dynamic. But that's not currently on the plans. You don't know whether maybe we would do something like that in the future, but currently that's not on our development plans. Okay, next question comes from Jarhead, who asks, for us subscribers, is there going to be something to keep us coming back to subscribe in the future? Yes. So one of the things that we are constantly looking at is ways we can sort of reward people for subscribing, because obviously it helps us do all this great community content. And I do think one of the differences between Star Citizen and, say, other crowdfunded games, or just other games in general, is that we're able to be much more open with our development and sort of share a lot more. I mean, that takes quite a lot of work. I mean, a lot of effort is actually expended on the various video shows we do, the behind-the-scenes information that we share, the Jump Point magazine, all the rest of the stuff. But I do think it helps for everyone that's interested in it, sort of take the journey along with us. And I don't think we would have been where we are without that involvement with the community, and that involvement's really made possible by the funds that subscribers kick in, because that's what we use to sort of fund a lot of the community, like the video department and all the stuff that we do for that is completely funded by subscribers. So the pledges that come in outside of that are really used all for development of the game, and then the community interaction is enhanced by what happens with the subscription. So we really appreciate everyone that subscribes, and they're doing a great service, not just for other subscribers, but for everybody on the project, and even people that aren't even backing the project, because a vast amount of information gets disseminated every week, and it's largely because of the support of the subscribers. So yes, we want to do more to keep you guys going back, because you make a big difference. And so we're looking at doing things. We're talking about doing a sort of monthly live stream for subs, and we're also talking about doing more, I don't know, kind of fun, flary things, so what we've kind of done for some of the subscriber flair, but just to do some sort of elements, or, the way that, you can fly a glaive if you're a subscriber for a limited period of time, and that kind of stuff. That would, or not a glaive, a scythe, but those are all things that we're sort of looking about doing to sort of make the subscribing experience more rewarding without sort of disadvantaging anyone on a game basis. Because one of the things we said was we didn't want to make subscribers be a better class of citizen actually inside the game itself. But I think it's fine if they have some cool flair and they get access to some sort of behind-the-scenes content before everyone else, because they are paying for us to be able to have the time to do all that content. And in the end of the day, it's better for everyone anyway. So we will be trying to figure out things to make you guys sort of feel special, and thank you for what you do for us. So there you go. And the next question comes from Echo7, who asks, fresh content is critical to engage players in the PU, and you have hinted at the possibility of having players generate content. What sort of content would be considered? Well, I've talked about this quite a few times. We did the Next Great Starship to sort of develop a few ships that were user generated. I mean, we've got the Redeemer already, and we actually would like to bring a few of the other ships from Next Great Starship into the game when we have time. We've got such a huge backlog of ships that it takes some time to get everything in. But it does help that we have quite a few people that worked on the Drake Brutus as well as the Redeemer in-house now, so they can help finish off their stuff properly in the game. But long term, we would like to try and have user-generated content. I think I mentioned that we were thinking about we potentially could sort of have the equivalent of a spec that was put out by the UEE saying we need a new kind of this ship, and these are the specs of it, and then solicit sort of designs and models for people, and as it coming past a certain amount, then if it passes the quality bar, it could potentially be deployed into the game and then sold online, and perhaps there was some kind of revenue split that would go between the creator of it and the game itself, just like you have. Valve does this pretty well. So that would be a path, maybe the same for clothing on characters. And we're also toying around with doing some kind of mission editor stuff. That's kind of longer term, but again, those would all be tools that would be very useful for all the modding stuff that we need to do anyway, and maybe deploy some of that earlier to allow some people, say in our sort of test bed, to come up with like some encounters or something, and then submit them in, and we pick the best encounter and roll that out to everyone else. With one of the patches or stuff like that. I think all that sort of stuff is stuff we're looking at because it's hard, even with the amount of people we have, to generate enough content to keep up with all your guys' consumption, and having more people in the community contribute to that. And there's a whole bunch of people in the community that are super talented that would be great. So we're definitely thinking about that. That is definitely part of our plans, and it's really just sort of fitting it in with all the other myriad things we've got to do. But it will happen. Last question comes from Thomas Summers, who asks, with the release of Multicrew ships, will we get a loaner Multicrew ship if the one we pledged for is still in development? And the simple answer is yes. It's exactly the same way as we did in Arena Commander in the early days. So you'll probably get a Multicrew ship that's equivalent to the one that you've backed for that isn't available yet. So I don't know. Depends on what it is, but if you can't fly, if you can't get the Redeemer, maybe you've got the Retaliator, and don't quote on me, we haven't figured out what the translation is, but you will definitely, if you have a Multicrew ship and you can't fly it in Multicrew, then you would get a Multicrew ship to fly for a while until your ship came online. So there you go, and that's kind of what we did with Arena Commander in the first stages. So that's it. That's 10 for the Chairman for this week. Kind of to the point, maybe a bit quicker than I normally am, because we're all hard at work working on stuff to show you at CitizenCon, but really we're working on the FPS release, we're working on the next social side, and we're working on Multicrew. And ultimately, it's not really that different. They're all part of the same thing. We've all moved now to the same development stream, so we're all on what we call game dev, which is our central development stream. So we used to have different code paths for the FPS. We branched it about 6 months ago, and it probably wasn't we thought we were going to release it earlier, which is why we branched it, but then we didn't, and we should have probably brought them back in the same line, because they diverge a lot, and there's always a lot of differences and changes that happen on separate code branches. So we finally brought it back together. We're still cleaning up some of the issues with it, but when they're all together, that's it. When we release, whatever patch we release, it will have the code for all the stuff in it. So if we release Multicrew, the 1.3 we're talking about, that will be having all the FPS code in it. It'll be having all the social code in it. It will be having the hangar, and it will be having Arena Commander. So that's what everyone's got their heads down to be delivering all those things. In the very near future, of the first stages of in the very near future, and we're really thankful to you guys for allowing us to be able to do it at the scale and ambition that we're doing it. It's amazing. So I'm a very very happy, lucky person. There's a lot of people on this project that are kind of feel the same way, because we're all pretty impassioned, because we're basically building the game we want to play, and you guys are letting us do it, and you're part of the team as far as we're concerned. I mean, we couldn't do it without you. So thank you very, very much. It's not that far away from CitizenCon, which we'll live stream. So I think I'm pretty confident that we'll be showing some stuff that hopefully people will be pretty excited by, and be putting stuff on people's hard drives there, pretty soon from then. That I'm really looking forward to seeing what people, do with it and have response. And we're just going. We're heads down. We've got a big game to finish. Still a lot of work to be done, but I really sort of feel like a lot of the foundational pieces are in place, and now we're starting to sort of reap the rewards of that. And there is some stuff that is pretty cool that I haven't shown that will be down the road too. So it's good, and thank you for all your patience, and talk to you next week. Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching 10 for the Chairman. If you guys would like to see more episodes, go here. If you guys would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel and always keep up to date with all our video content, go here. And if you guys would like to watch episodes of Around the Verse, go here please. And I will see you in the verse.
This video made possible by the ICC Stellar Surveyors and subscribers like you.